Welcome to MicroStrategy Developer Course demo session. This is a demo session given by MindMajix, and I'm a MicroStrategy trainer. I have 9 years of experience in MicroStrategy. Currently, I'm working as a technical architect at a renowned MNC. I have done a lot of MicroStrategy projects in different domains such as banking, retail, finance, and healthcare. I have done more than 100 trainings across the globe, online as well as offline. I have also done many corporate trainings on site, including renowned MNCs across the globe. I'll be your trainer for this particular demo session, and I'll be covering the following course curriculum. This particular course contains the following particular courses. First, in this course, we'll do MicroStrategy installation. Now, MicroStrategy installation is something which is very important. This particular part will cover your free 30-day trial software evaluation. That version we will be downloading from our website, MicroStrategy trial version. I will give you a link from which you can install MicroStrategy 30-day trial enterprise version. This will be valid for 30 days and we'll be learning the whole course on MicroStrategy 30-day trial evaluation version. It's a full licensed version which is given by MicroStrategy on trial basis. I'll be helping you to do the installation. The first part of the course is to help you to do the installation. The installation is a little difficult, but I'll be there for you to help you to get the installation done perfectly so that you can do all your hands-on exercises right from day one. After that, we'll start with introduction to MicroStrategy and its architecture. This agenda covers following topics. We'll go through introduction to MicroStrategy and its BI architecture, like what is MicroStrategy, how is MicroStrategy different than other different reporting tools, what are the different components of the architecture, what is the report query flow, what are the different product suites available inside MicroStrategy. Okay, we'll also see some components like folders, schema objects, public objects, and we'll see some basic report creation in this particular talk. After that, we'll right away start with MicroStrategy Developer Course. This is a topic in which we'll be covering following sub modules, like we'll learn what are the different metrics, all types of metrics, compound metrics, simple metrics, nested metrics, what are the different types of filters, prompts. We'll also learn report style manipulations. These are the different techniques that we'll learn. Report data manipulations, report subscriptions, and graph properties. This particular module will actually cover the developer part. Then we'll go through intelligent server and administration, configuration of server and metadata, configuring the project source. These are the steps which are important for us to start with the next module, which is MicroStrategy Architect. So in developer course here, we'll be working as a developer who is working on an existing project, but from the administration and architect class, we'll be working as an architect who starts on a project from scratch. Okay. Once we have done the configuration of the metadata from scratch, we'll start with a blank project as a MicroStrategy architect. We'll add MicroStrategy tables to MicroStrategy. We'll learn what are the schema objects that we can create, like creating facts, creating attributes, creating hierarchies, and creating transformations. These are very important topics which are required as an architect to map your database with MicroStrategy. Once we are done with that, we'll start with the front end of MicroStrategy, which is dynamic dashboards, report services. So introduction to report documents and dashboards, designing documents and dashboards, adding datasets, panel stacks, selectors. These are all front-end functionalities which is important for us to design a dashboard using RSD, which is report service document. And there is a new functionality which is added to MicroStrategy 10 called as Dossier. This is very famous nowadays. So MicroStrategy Dossier also is part of this course. At the end of the course, we'll cover the MicroStrategy Dossier. So point to be noted, MicroStrategy report services documents and dossiers, these are the topics which will be covered using MicroStrategy Web. So this course is a combination of MicroStrategy Developer and MicroStrategy Web. So at the end of this course, you'll be able to actually work on as a end-to-end developer, basically start from a database and push and pull that database into MicroStrategy, map that database into MicroStrategy, create schema objects, create your reports, create your front end, and deploy it. So that's the whole goal of this particular MicroStrategy Developer course agenda. So we have gone through these all topics. Whole course will make sure that you are learning MicroStrategy end to end. Today I'm going to cover in this demo session basic introduction to MicroStrategy and its architecture. and we'll go through one simple basic report creation in MicroStrategy Developer and understand its basic concepts. So let's start with introduction to MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy is a reporting tool which helps businesses to get business reports and take some smart business decisions. Now, as there are different reporting tools in the market, how MicroStrategy is different from them? Because MicroStrategy uses a metadata concept. All the objects inside MicroStrategy are stored inside the metadata. Now let me walk you through a little bit of the whole process flow of MicroStrategy development. So basically it starts with collecting data at the source system. This is something which is done outside MicroStrategy environment. Okay, so source systems are your data sources. For example, if you take an example of a CRM application, an ERP application, or even a retail store, or even for example, Walmart. So Walmart is a big retail chain on which daily basis people go and buy products, and all those products are getting sold, and at the counter you pay the bill. Every product, when you pay the bill and get it, right, all the transactions are recorded into some vendor softwares. All those transactions get recorded into some databases or data sources. Those sources are called as source system at which the actual business happens, right? So those source systems are first integrated with our business intelligence systems, and using them there is another process called as ETL process. This process is again very important part of business intelligence life cycle. So using we collect the data from source system, and we extract, transform and load that data into something called as data warehouse. So as I said, BI life cycle. So it contains source system. This is nothing but your transactions, or let's say application data. It can be any source actually, any business source where the data is getting recorded, the actual business happens here. Then there is this ETL process. This process can be done using SQL, or maybe it can be done using a ETL tool like Informatica, SSIS, etc. These are some examples of ETL tools. These are tools which are required, or they are used in industries to do the extraction, transformation and load. What is extraction, transformation and load? Because the data is at the application level, the data is recorded in a OLTP format, or you can say a transaction based normalized format. We need to store it in a denormalized format into data warehouse. The third component is data warehouse. Now, why is it important for us to store the data in data warehouse? Because when we store the data in the data warehouse data is always stored in a optimized environment or optimized format, which is good and reporting friendly, I can say. Okay, so it's easy for us to do reporting on top of data warehouse. I can say reporting friendly data, denormalized. These are some terminologies used: OLAP, optimized for reporting. So data is stored, extracted, transformed by doing some transformation and cleansing, and loaded into this data warehouse as a database. Now, what is a data warehouse again? A data warehouse is a database only, but it is optimized for reporting purpose. So this particular 3 steps that I showed you, they are outside MicroStrategy world. Before you start your MicroStrategy reporting, these are the steps which are involved into BI life cycle. After you get your data warehouse, you can start with MicroStrategy connection to the data warehouse and start doing your reporting. That is where this part comes into picture. This whole diagram here, this is where the MicroStrategy comes into picture. So once you have the data warehouse, MicroStrategy will get connected to data warehouse, bring the data into the server here, process the data and show it in the form of reports and document as front end, or PDF, or on a mobile device. So there are multiple formats in which we can show the report, right? But the whole concept of processing happens here. For the processing, again, there are 2 components inside MicroStrategy which are very important. Let me type that into code. MicroStrategy contains a metadata database. This metadata database functions as a storage for MicroStrategy objects. It stores schema objects, application objects and configuration objects. So metadata database, it stores schema objects, application objects and configuration objects. These are 3 different types of objects which are used inside MicroStrategy. So the main function is to store these objects and then store logical information, help in SQL generation. These are the functions of a metadata database. And then there is something called as intelligence server. What it does, it is the brain of MicroStrategy. It processes all the requests. So things which are outside MicroStrategy environment. So MicroStrategy is not a ETL tool. I want to specify that here. It is a reporting tool which has some little transformation functionalities, but it is not used as ETL tool. They are outside the MicroStrategy environment. Once you have your data warehouse on which you want to do reporting, there are two components which are important inside MicroStrategy. Is metadata database, which functions as a storage for the objects and it helps in SQL generation. And there is this intelligence server, which is again a configuration required. It is the brain of MicroStrategy basically. It processes all the requests coming from users and then generates all the output required for it. Okay, so this is the main architecture of MicroStrategy. We will learn more about all these things, these components in detail in upcoming topics. But right now, to get started, we need to understand that MicroStrategy is a reporting tool which has two components, metadata and iServer, which connects to our databases or data sources and generates reports for us. We will work in this metadata and intelligence server environment as developers to develop these schema objects, application objects, and configuration objects. Once we step or double click inside MicroStrategy, we will see many other products inside the MicroStrategy ecosystem. So it's very important for us to understand what all products are available inside MicroStrategy Enterprise platform. It is a very big platform. So it is very important for us to understand which product to use at what time. So as for example, MicroStrategy developers, as a developer, when we are reporting, we are creating reports, documents, dossiers, it is very important for us to understand which option to use in what particular scenario. So in order to do that, we need to understand a little bit of MicroStrategy ecosystem. So this is the MicroStrategy ecosystem of products and its architecture. Like last time I discussed, at the bottom, these are our data sources. Okay. Now last slide I talked about data warehouse, right? Now it is not important that you always have data warehouse. It can be a case where you just have a normal RDBMS, you have transactional applications, you have files, you have a website. MicroStrategy can connect to many sources which are available right now in the market. Okay. And then you can do reporting on top of that. So that is sitting at the bottom. On top of that, as I told you, MicroStrategy Intelligence Server. This is the one which is doing the processing for MicroStrategy. It is the brain of MicroStrategy and the metadata. So these two components connect with your data sources, and then top of that there are three different delivery, or you can say client output. For example, there is a product called as MicroStrategy Office. Now MicroStrategy Office is something which is used in tandem with Microsoft Office product. So if you have Microsoft Office product and you want to utilize or you want to see a report directly on your PowerPoint presentation, directly in your Word format, directly in your Excel format, then you can use this product as a separate product which sits on top of iServer. So you need to install MicroStrategy Office product to use this functionalities. So you don't have to go to any different interface. You just have your PowerPoint, and in that you can just click a button and you can get a report directly from MicroStrategy environment. That is the first product. Now this is very rarely used, by the way. Then you have the most commonly used product called as MicroStrategy Web. You want to see the report or a dashboard or a document or a dossier from a browser, right? So user connects from a browser to MicroStrategy Web Server. So there is a server called as MicroStrategy Web Server. We'll learn about it in our administration and configuration classes, right? So this web server then connects to your iServer. So if you want to run your reports from your browser, we need to make sure that there is a web server there and it connects or talks to your intelligence server. So user can click run button on your browser and he can get a report. Then comes MicroStrategy Mobile. If you want to see your report or a document or a dashboard on a mobile device, on an app, okay, on an Android, Apple or BlackBerry device, then you need to install MicroStrategy Mobile Server. We need to configure and install MicroStrategy Mobile, right? And then it connects to MicroStrategy iServer. So if you saw, everything connects to iServer. iServer and metadata are there, and then the way in which you want to see the report, the configuration changes. And all of these three can actually send the report as a email as an attachment as well. So there is something called as MicroStrategy Distribution Services, which will help us to send report as an email, subscribe as an email, like that. So this is how the user flow, right? So user, when he clicks a button on a mobile app, he can connect through MicroStrategy mobile server, iServer, and get a report. If he clicks a button from a browser, he can see the report on a browser. He can see a report from a PowerPoint PPT, click a button and get a report. That's your MicroStrategy architecture flow, right? Now let me talk about some products which are there inside MicroStrategy ecosystem. So on the left hand side, you will see some full spectrum of developer products. In this course, we are going to learn about MicroStrategy Architect and MicroStrategy Desktop Designer. These are the two products which are embedded inside MicroStrategy Developer, and we can do schema objects, architect, and database mapping from this, and we can develop reports, documents, dashboards, filters, all these application objects using these two tools. When you install MicroStrategy, it looks like this. Let me show you that tool which I am talking about right now. So MicroStrategy products, there is this red color icon called as MicroStrategy Developer. Inside this, we can do architect as well as desktop designing. So we'll be learning about this in the future topics. Then comes web professional. This is nothing but your MicroStrategy web. If you want to run or develop anything from web, MicroStrategy web browser, then this is the product to use. So let's see that as well. So there is a web product here. This is the one. Then there is something called as SDK. Now this is again something which is rarely used by reporting guys or business intelligence guys. SDK is something called as software development kit. If you have knowledge of Java or .NET and you want to customize how MicroStrategy web or mobile devices application looks like. So example, in your production environment, you're working with some client and you want their logo to be displayed on website, directly on the website, right? The way in which the MicroStrategy looks like, then you need to do some customization of the code using Java or .NET. For that, you will require software development kit. Then there is Cube Advisor. If you want to create MicroStrategy cubes, then this Cube Advisor tool will help. Again, very rarely used, but it is a good product. Most generic, or you can say mostly used products are these, which we'll learn now. In this course, we'll learn these three. Then full spectrum of administration tool on the right. Now, out of these are the tools which are used by your administrators who are setting up your environment, and they utilize these products to optimize the environment. So there is something called as Enterprise Manager. Now, Enterprise Manager is a product which will help us to get the statistics in the production environment. For example, how many users logged into my system? How many reports are executed per day by user? Are there any errors coming out? What are those errors coming when people are executing reports? These all statistics, or these are the analytics that we want from production environment when we go live, right? So this Enterprise Manager will help us to set up that, and it will get us analytics on top of our reporting environment, like Google Analytics, right? Any application, if you apply Google Analytics to it, automatically on your website, how many users logged in and stuff like that, Google Analytics tells us. Similarly, Enterprise Manager is like a Google Analytics for MicroStrategy reporting environment. Then there is this scripting tool, very powerful tool again, Command Manager. This is used by administrators as well as developers. So Command Manager is something which is used by developers as well as administrators. This is a very powerful tool. If you want to automate anything inside MicroStrategy by writing some scripts, you can do that using Command Manager. Now, Object Manager, again, it's a product which is used for migration purpose. For example, you develop some reports in dev environment. You are now ready to promote it to higher environment, do the testing, and then promote it to the UAT environment, do the user acceptance test, and then promote it again to the production environment and go live. All this promotion or a migration of the code or code handling or package creation can be done by Object Manager. This is the migration tool given by MicroStrategy. Then there is this Integrity Manager, very useful tool again for developers as well as testers. If you want to do unit testing, performance testing, report testing, right, SQL checks, data checks, all this can be done using Integrity Manager. It's a very powerful tool. Again, can be done by automation. Now, whatever I did or said from step 1 till here can completely be automated by a workflow tool called as System Manager. A very nice tool again. Mark my words, I have been using System Manager and all these tools to automate all the environment, and it's really important, very nice and powerful tool. Once you learn all your reporting environment, right, like how to develop a report, you're good at development of the reports or BI, it's very important for you to go to next phase, which is nowadays everything is getting automated, right? So you can automate all these tasks or all the tasks that you do by using System Manager. Okay, so it's a automation tool, or you say task performer, or a workflow tool which will help us to handle all the environment completely. So this is all about the MicroStrategy ecosystem and architecture. We are going to learn about in this course as MicroStrategy Developer, which is these three: architect, designer, and web professional. In our admin class, which is a separate course, we'll learn about full spectrum of administration tools. These are very important. We'll learn in a separate course. They are not covered in this course, but they are very important. So it's very important for us to understand what all options are there and what needs to be learned. So to start the MicroStrategy Developer, whether you are a fresher, whether you have started learning MicroStrategy, whether you already have 6 months, 1 year, 2 year of experience, this course is going to help you still go to next level and go deep or double click on MicroStrategy and learn it from scratch and go to the next level. So those are some introduction and architecture and product suite of MicroStrategy. Now let's jump on to right away a small demo of like how a report is created in MicroStrategy. This is very important. This is the basic component of any MicroStrategy environment, right? So a report in MicroStrategy contains two components basically. One is this template, another is filter. These two components are basic, and then we'll see how is SQL generated, and we'll create this basic report. Now consider a scenario. You joined a project team. You are a MicroStrategy. You learned this MicroStrategy from scratch, and then you joined the team. It's an existing project. And then the first requirement that comes to you is, hey, I want to build a report where I want to see year 2016 data for the categories, and I want to see what was the revenue, which is sales, and what was my profit for that particular category. This is the report which has been asked to you by your client or your team or your product manager. So now how we are going to create this report from scratch, we'll learn right away. So what we will do, we'll launch developer. Let me launch it from scratch. So this is the tool that I was talking about, MicroStrategy Developer. This is the project source. So this is the project that we'll be learning in this course, called as MicroStrategy Analytics module. If we open it, log in as administrator. MicroStrategy tutorial. This is the free tutorial project given in our 30-day trial version. So we'll expand it, and we'll consider this is the project in which we have to start building our first report. So I go to report folder and right click in this blank environment, click new report. Select blank report because we are starting from scratch. So this is something called as report editor. Consider one thing, any object that we learn from scratch in our actual training environment, we will have an editor for each and every object. This is a report object. On the left hand side, you will see a pane called as report objects. Everything that you add into your report will come up here. On the left bottom, you will see object browser. This is where we bring the objects inside our report. On the right bottom, you will see a template. This was the component I was talking about, a template. Anything that you place here will be displayed to the end user. And there is a report pane in which, report filter pane in which you can apply filters. And then report details gives us the details like what filters are applied, what are the limits, what are the objects on display. So let's see on the left hand side, you will see some hierarchies present. Now this is an existing project. Now we are learning how to create a project from an report from an existing project. So first is I required a year column, right? So I go to time hierarchy. Inside MicroStrategy, you will see these blue diamond color icons. These are called as attributes. We'll learn in our architect class what are attributes. For now, you consider attributes as dimensions. What are dimensions again? These are the objects or these are the entities in our database which gives contextual information. Example, customer name, right? Product names, These are some columns or dimensions in our database which gives us contextual information in terms of reporting or data warehouse. We'll learn more about them as and when we go into details. Okay. For now, consider this is a year attribute. This is called as attribute in MicroStrategy. This will give us year data. Okay. So I'll right click and add to the role. You will see year getting displayed here. Now, this is something called as designing your template or designing your report. I want year. Then I go back. I have products hierarchy. I go to products and I pull category as well. You can drag and drop also. So I got year category. Then on the left hand side, you will find a folder called as metrics. So sales metric, cost. So we don't require cost, so I'll remove it. We require profit. So right click, add to columns. And then revenue, add to columns. This is what we needed, right? So what is metric again? These are the calculations or measures from the which are calculated from the database again, right? So all those, how are these objects created? Why do we create them? How do we create them? We'll learn in the upcoming classes or the topic. But for now, consider that this is an existing project where all these objects are created already. We need to use them and create a report. So I have used category year. These are the two attributes, and profit and revenue. These are my measures or metrics. Okay. Then there is this execute button. Okay. I click on that, and you will see the data getting populated onto the report. This is my report. 2014, 15, 16. MicroStrategy has done what? Whenever I run or click on this button, MicroStrategy calls my intelligence server and tells intelligence server that I need a report in which I need the data for year, category, revenue and profit. So the intelligence server goes ahead and finds out what is the definition of this year and category inside the metadata, what is the definition of profit and revenue inside the metadata, then generates the SQL for us automatically, and then goes ahead and executes that SQL into the database or data source or data warehouse, brings the result back to the intelligence server and shows that to us. So now it is showing us 2014, 15 and 16 data because it found that it has all the data. We have asked for all the data, but we wanted the data only for 2016. So what we need to do, we need to apply a filter onto our report, right? So I go to edit mode again. And then I go to this data explorer, time. I have this year, right? I double click on year and I see some data or red cubes. Whenever you see red cubes in MicroStrategy, they are elements, data elements. Okay. So let me drag this 2016 into my filter pane. What happens here? 2016 data will be brought by MicroStrategy from the database, right? So as soon as you do something here, you add some filter here, now intelligence server will again generate the different query, but it will add a where clause this time, a where clause to a SQL query and bring only 2016 data from the database. So you see now 2016 data is getting shown onto a report. Let me show you the SQL view as well, like how is the SQL generated. So this is the SQL view. You will see the query getting generated by MicroStrategy. You see, select year ID, category ID and total dollar sales. From year category sales, join LU category on category ID equal to category ID, and you will see a where clause year in 2016. This is all getting executed against the database and the data is being fetched for you. This is how we create a basic report. Let me save a report and save it as category sales report for 2016. Alright. Similarly, in this course, we'll learn how to create report document. These are the objects that we'll learn. Report document, prompt, intelligent cubes, filters, templates, metrics, right, consolidations, attributes, facts, hierarchy, transformation. So these are the basic and always commonly used objects. If you learn how to create these objects, how are they used, what are the different functionalities, how to develop them, this is what will help you to start developing these reports as well as do some certifications which are required in this course. That was the end of the demo for reports which I showed you, like sequence generation and the report. Now, if you learn this course, the agenda that I showed you, you'll be easily able to complete ANL and MCA certification. Okay, ANL will be analyst certification. This is most common and first certification, easiest certification that has to be done. It requires just MicroStrategy dossier and report experience, and then MCA, MicroStrategy Certified Architect. This is more tougher certification, but you can do this as well as at the end of this particular course. You can easily crack this one. This is a complete full day exam. So basically, all the certifications that are provided by MicroStrategy are project based certification. Now, projects that I will demonstrate in this particular course is MicroStrategy tutorial, which that comes with retail data. We'll learn about retail domain, how is the data warehouse, how this tutorial project is created from scratch. So we'll use an existing project as well as we'll create our own MicroStrategy project from scratch and develop it end to end. That's the project. It comes with Access database and data warehouse. It has industry standard reports and documents. And very important for us to understand tutorial, because if you read any documentation or any functions for MicroStrategy Web tomorrow, when you develop certain reports in actual production environment or actual development environment, all the examples in all the MicroStrategy documentation are given from MicroStrategy tutorial project. So if you are good with MicroStrategy tutorial project, it will be easy for you to grasp any other future topics. That's why I teach the whole course using MicroStrategy tutorial. Okay, so we'll understand that. At the end of every chapter, I'll give you an assignment or a lab which you have to complete. It will give you hands-on experience, and there will be a final project which is called as end-to-end project, which will be mimicking or which will be similar to what you get inside certifications. It is not very similar, but it will give you an idea of like how certification happens. So I'll give you a project at the end of the course, which after learning all the topics, you'll be able to finish that. If you have any questions over there, I'll be helping you with that project. So that's your end of the project. Assignment and labs. Per chapter, we'll have some assignment, and at the end of all the chapters, we'll have one project assignment as well. Now, lab setup, or you can say the software setup, you will require, these are the hardware and software requirements. Minimum 4 GB RAM. Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10 is fine as well, but Windows 10 if you're using, you should use Pro or Enterprise only. Do not use Home. Home has its own disadvantage over MicroStrategy 10. So we will not be able to take advantage of MicroStrategy Web. I have seen those issues. So that is one requirement. 50 GB of hard disk. It's very important that you use your personal laptop, guys, because if you use your office laptop, you will not have admin access to the system. And this installation requires admin access. You'll require Adobe Reader, Microsoft Office, and Microsoft Access as softwares. And in this section, at the end of every chapter, you can ask me questions. But it's not mandatory that you wait for the end of the chapter. You can stop me anytime during the chapter, and we can discuss your questions. Is it a scenario-based question or a simple question? I'll be able to answer all the questions regarding those. Okay. Any questions and regarding course timings, resource allocation, you can discuss with MindMajix support team. They can help you anytime. At the end of the course, we'll send you some feedback, and we'll be happy to get some feedback from you. So that's it for today. I hope to see you in many of my trainings that I do. I have done a lot of trainings for MicroStrategy, and hoping to see you in our MicroStrategy training soon. I hope you enjoyed the demo. Thank you.